Welcome to Loleventvods. Watch the full game of today's LPL 2025 matchup.
Thought they'd have the most
Split
success. Yeah, split push, I guess. But that, I mean, it's talking about one of the hardest comps to really just execute. Also, one of the easiest comps to really kind of counter, especially when you factor in how many epic monsters and buffs you got to play for in this game.
Yeah.
That's an interesting talking point. I feel like the changes for Season 15, 25, whatever, have really made it pretty difficult to work a split push comp, at least on the competitive level. It's something interesting to track.
So the Q, it still works. I've still watched a Yorick just wander down top lane and take a full Nexus, but exactly. In this level, it is much, much harder. And yeah, as we jump on into the draft of this game number 4, things are still relatively similar, although we are not seeing EDG ban out that Kalista. They've left that open, which they haven't done up until previously, and yeah, it looks like that is what they are going towards. The second they don't ban it, instantly going to be locking that one in, and that is something that Assume loves, really likes to play that one, and is incredibly good on it as well, but the sort of champion that you have to build around. You can't just allow the Kalista to exist in its own bubble, you have to play towards it, but if you can get it to pop off, it is so very strong.
Gotta assume, pun intended there on that one, that we're gonna get the Nico next to the Kalista, the most common bottom lane I've seen across LPL series. I think we've seen that pairing once a series at this point. Zyra gonna be locked in here. Gotta think that's a Beichuan special. A couple of these LPL junglers really like the Zyra jungle. We saw it yesterday come out in the Ultra Prime versus, why am I blanking on the superstar team we watched play Ultra Prime off the top of my, it's late, guys. It is 4 in the morning for me, so you got to give me a bit of a pass. Oh, JDG. I think it was JDG. JDG were able to pull out that Zyra. The Nautilus, wow, we just get two. How often do you see two support champions pick back-to-back with each other? I know they're not both playing support, but it's a rare.
It could be. Maybe that's the adaptation that Thundertalk are going to come through with now. We're just going to have 3 people down in the bottom lane, but EDG are getting a ton of really big picks right now. The Kalista that they have been looking for, I think, throughout this entire series, the Nico that you've been talking about a lot, it's a really strong pickup. I love it. I think it's the best wombo combo champion in the entire game. It's even better than the Orianna with that Shockwave, because if you can get into the backline with something sneaky, it does so much damage, so much CC setup as well, and paired alongside something like with the Renekton, who can also go in and buy a little bit of extra space, this Kalista is already in a pretty comfortable position in this game.
Ziggs, really intriguing pick. I like it. I'm on the assumption this is 1xN playing the safest champion you could ever take to the bottom lane, in my mind, to counter the power of Kalista Nico. It's going to be really hard to reach Ziggs if 1xN is positioned correctly, which he has done so often. The glaring issue here with the Ziggs locked in is, where is your AD damage? The prime pick for this sort of comp, the Yone, was banned away in the first phase. Gotta think, are there any other melee mids you might like Setab on that EDG should just ban away here with their last ban?
I think the Yasuo is a potential pickup right now.
That'd be
the Zed has also been floating on the edges of competitive. I would be very surprised to see that one locked in. I don't think that that is going to be the thing that you end up going towards, but it could always potentially be an option. And to be honest, right now, I'm not too worried about the lack of of AD damage, because there's no tanks that you're really too worried about. True. The Renekton will be the tankiest. Obviously, that is likely to change for EDG. They are likely to pick themselves up some tankier champions, especially seeing what they have so far from Thundertalk, but it's not the end of the world right now. Sion would be able to help out. I'd be surprised by that one, though. Yeah, Sion, please. I don't like the Camille in this composition at all.
Okay.
It would just be by itself in terms of what it wants to do in a team fight. I think you need something to pair up alongside the Nautilus to be that front line for you, to buy enough space for the Zyra and the Ziggs. And so, yeah, I'm very happy to see that Sion be locked in right here. Up to EDG now, though, to sort things out for themselves. Still, these are champions that aren't going to be building either magic resist or armor, so for the minute it really doesn't matter that this is a very lopsided composition.
This is not locked in. This would be something. A Kha'Zix from Xiaohao. Also, just really, I mean, if we want to index early game power mid snowball champions next to a Kalista, LeBlanc, and Nico, I mean, Kha'Zix is going to do it, and we get the lock-in. Xiaohao Kha'Zix. You could call it tilt, maybe, but it's a call. And wow, if we get Kha'Zix and Zed locked back in, we are having some fun with Fearless today. There's the Yasuo. The Yasuo does come through with a couple of key knockups. We're in for some Fearless fun, potentially to clean out this series, Bloxer.
This is what I wanted. This is what I was hoping for when I jumped onto the LPL, right? For just craziness. And I mean, what could be more crazy than this? This is absolutely insane. This is Fearless at its absolute best, and we didn't even make it to a Game 5. This is just off the wall. I spoke about how the Yasuo was potentially something I thought could be played in this composition, and I like it, especially after seeing that Sion be blocked in. There are a ton of knockups. In fact, every champion here, I think this game pans out, with the picks, with the compositions, everything up in the air on this one. See if Thunder Talk can play in the way that we have seen them do for the previous 2 games. Calm, clean, collected, but scrappy. They love to fight. They love to fight you, especially around these objectives. And that is something that I've been especially proud of for Bechuan. Has been just right on top of all of these objectives and has basically been shutting Xiaohao out from actually being able to get almost any of them.
Now that we're onto the Rift, we get to see some of the summoner choices coming across. You get a good look at all the runes.
Yep. It's Electrocute Kha'Zix.
I mean, is that just...
That's standard. I think the issue is the Kha'Zix, not the Electrocute here. That's the bit that's not standard. That's the bit that is a little bit off the wall. I mean, I like it. Sudden Impact Electrocute Kha'Zix does work. If you can actually get yourself an isolated 1v1 versus one of these squishier champions, of which there are quite a lot on Thunder Talk Gaming's side, then you're in a very good spot to be able to win that 1v1 and potentially snowball yourself. But you need to get just so much to go right for you. Otherwise, as you put it, it is miserable to play this champion from behind. I think it probably is the worst one, at least competitively, to play from behind. It feels like there is almost nothing that you can do, and you provide your team basically the utility of a caster minion and a moving ward.
With a slow. Don't forget the W slow.
There's a slow.
There's a slow. There's one slow. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, EDG have now doubled down into playing comps where they need a snowball or they just fall off a cliff. We saw it in Game 2 with the support Elise, the Lee Sin jungle, alongside a comp with no real other setup. It's virtually similar, just with different champions. And now, you know, maybe not as much of an early game support with the Elise. You got the Nico, but you've got the Kalista that really needs to get going. Curious to see how EDG want to play towards that bot side, like you pointed out, Bloxer. They've got right now Xiaohao clearing down. But 1xN seems like he's in his comfort zone. He's got the Ziggs, he's got the teleport. He is here to just survive. That is goal number 1.
Absolutely, and it's a very different champion overall to the sort that we really associate with this player, right? We have talked so much about the Jinx, and for good reason. It's been an incredible pick for him, but at the same time, Ziggs very much on being able to position around teamfights. Bit short-ranged if you want to be auto-attacking people. Obviously, you've got longer-ranged spells to be able to deal your damage too. But if you can appropriately position during teamfights on this champion and actually be able to land auto-attacks as well, it just gets you in a position where you can weave so much extra damage in. Seems like we are going to see a Bechuan gank onto the top lane here.
This is the power of Zyra. She clears so much quicker that she can get out and set up for these ganks early, but doesn't look like Bechuan wanted to commit. That wave was in a perfect spot for a gank nonetheless. Not going to go for it. Just going to look to take the crab and get an early reset. So both junglers mirrored in their starts.
Potentially, Hoya was perfectly happy to just be able to pick up this wave, isn't worried about getting pushed in right here. The Sion will get tanky, will be useful later on into the game. And it is interesting as well, Renekton really has changed from what he used to be 2-3 years ago. This champion was all about the early game. You saw it picked, and it felt a lot like a Darius, where you were just expecting it, hopefully, to get many kills as you could in the early stages. Oh my god, is that a solo? Oh, it is!
Oh! Champion mastery. You give this guy a melee champion, and you watch him run wonders. Satab first blood in what could be the biggest game of Thunder Talk's short time in the LPL.
Oh, I was gonna get to the Yasuo here, but hey, let's talk about it right now, because this pick is amazing in this composition because every single other champion on your screen will provide you some sort of knock-up to allow this ulti to happen in any situation. But you need to be able to pay that off to your team by doing enough damage and being in a strong position in the game. Well, what better way to do that than to pick yourself up that initial feat of strength, get that first blood as a solo kill in the mid lane. I haven't seen solo kills in the mid lane in a full year at this point. It just stopped happening last season. That is so incredible, and Setup has had a great series so far. That being said, stepping quite far forwards here, just walks it away. This is another joy of the Yasuo, right? You're so mobile. It makes trying to gank very, very tricky, especially when you're up against something like a Kha'Zix and a LeBlanc. Both of these champions, while they have bits of CC, it takes a while for it to happen, more than enough time for Yasuo to just dive away. Oh, it's so nice.
So cool seeing these players, a player like Setab you talked about, in the system at DRX, finally comes over to get that starting position, and he's just been showing out on true pocket picks here.
Oh, it's just max range as well. That is the absolute maxest of ranges that you can have right there. And he just gets it. It's just a gorgeous play, knowing your champion to the absolute limits. It looks like that shouldn't land. You have to have played so many hours of a champion to be good enough to make that play. And of course, First Blood individually doesn't give you as much anymore as it used to. It's not an extra buff of gold, but still putting you in a much better spot than your opponent. Now, it seems like we are ready for our regularly scheduled skirmish around some grubs.
Thundertalk, though, I think it's wise. Now, Setab just buys this team so much space because they came into this early game with a Scion lane, a Ziggs lane. Like, they were looking to outlast and hopefully not surrender too much. But now Setab grabbing First Blood, not only for the gold, but that bounty towards feats of strength, it just gives Thundertalk more space to slow their game down and not panic in this early game because they know push comes to shove, as long as they're in a decent position for fighting, this comp soars.
Absolutely, and I do agree with them not stepping up to try to fight around these grubs. In fact, it's the grub 5v5 fights that we've seen in the previous games that have been the only ones, really, that EDG have been winning. Thundertalk, they have been good in all team fights, but that initial one at just about 7 minutes when people have just got themselves those initial ultis coming through. So I like them just stepping back, not deciding to go for that one, and instead they're going to go and grab themselves this Drake. Means they're going to be even in terms of those objectives towards that feat of strength. And so, more than happy with the way that this early game is playing out so far. Every single second that we get to calmly talk about these compositions and these players is a good thing for Thundertalk and a bad thing for EDG, because this composition they have needs to pop off now. I need to see kills beginning to go over to this Kha'Zix pretty much right now, the second that this ulti has come through. One reset, get yourself a little bit more damage, and then go and gank and jump on people and make this champion worth the pick.
You know, on that feats of strength point too, First Blood so much more pivotal because it felt like the Monster Slayer task was going to be the hardest one here for Thundertalk, but now you got a Ziggs in the bottom lane. We all know how annoying the satchel charge could be to just delete a turret, plates or not. So Thundertalk now, they are online for feats of strength as long as they just give more space to 1xN to likely knock down the first turret of the game. But we have top laners trading ultimate. ZDZ pops the dominance. Junglers want their own 1v1 skirmishes. Beichuan drops the
flash. He does.
Xiao Hao has to flash away from Feather's flash dredge line. Everybody's going to walk out a little bit wary, missing some summoners, but no kills, not even in the top lane.
I love that I could just see Feather walking up, and I can... Oh, wait.
The root.
Oh, no.
Great fate sealed. Assume just saved his support from a certain demise.
And you don't want Wink to fall behind because so much of your engage is going to be on this champion. It's a great combo between the Kalista and the Neeko because you can go fling the Neeko into the back line and then you can pop Blossom once you're already in there. It saves you from having to turn into a minion or a different little thing trying to sneak your way around or flash in. You know, it's a lot easier to get that initial engage, but if you start falling behind, sure, you still get the stun off of the pop blossom whatever happens, but not having all of that damage that can go along with it feels really bad, especially in this kind of composition. It's a good play to be able to stop that from happening. But yeah, I'd loved being able to see Feather just walking up and know that that was going to be a flash over the wall. I love how aggressive Feather is as a support, and Nautilus, a hook champion finally, is definitely the sort of thing we were excited to see.
It's not as fun as his Blitzcrank was against LNG, but certainly still in that hook champion category. Wink does have the Pop Blossom available. Look to see when he can find that, hopefully game-altering ultimate. As Thunder Talk are clinging to a gold lead that, based on these drafts, just wasn't expected.
Yeah, exactly. We were really thinking that Thunder Talk were just going to have to sit back and allow this game to come to them, and that would be a good thing. That would be a totally acceptable way for this early game to play out. But instead, they're still being proactive, they're still roaming around. It's exactly like we said, 1xn more than happy to sit by himself, doesn't need to be babysat by Feather. You don't have to have a support in your lane. You can go join up with the rest of the squad, and trying to put some pressure onto the mid lane right now. We will have the next set of grubs spawning in just about 10 seconds time. Now, I wouldn't really like to see Thunder Talk concede this set, because not getting any grubs when you've got a Ziggs comp, it feels a little bit bad, but I think more than that, it would really help out EDG to be able to actually take these towers at anywhere near a comparable rate. Oh, hang on. Whoa.
They get the knock-up on the Satchel into the last
He's
breath.
dead.
Thunder Talk are continuing to impress with their confidence and their combos. Tell me last time you saw that Ziggs set up for a Yasuo ultimate.
Yeah, exactly, and this is what we were talking about. They have set up on every single champion, and it's going to be huge, the last breath. The amount that you can do with this ulti when you've got as much setup as this composition does for Thunder Talk is just so very fun, and that is the way to get yourself the second set of grubs. No questions there, and that does mean that it's going to be the feat of strength picked up fully right here for Thunder Talk in this game number 4.
Almost.
Angel, I mean,
they're one short. Angel, you cannot lose this 1v1 to Hoya, right? He's
feel
got
like
the
they
slow.
do.
Hoya's flashing for it. All right, we're getting tricky with these distorts. Try and get around the Scion. On the flip side, ZDZ's getting 1v4 dove here. The dominance buys him some time, but not enough time. And it does seem like Angel escaped a very disappointing 1v1 loss there into the tank Scion.
I mean, Tank Scion does a surprising amount of damage. It's similar in a lot of ways to what we've been seeing with the Skarner, just tanky and shredding. Setup, we've complimented him a lot, but this is an awkward position to be in.
Yeah, this is a guaranteed kill here. Setab should fall. Question is, where do they want the gold to go? They do give it to Xiaohao's Kha'Zix, who has been very quiet in this game so far.
And this is what I see out of Kha'Zix's almost every time they're picked in competitive. All the way down from the tier 4s up until these top regions. It just feels like when you've got as much communication as you do in competitive play, it's so tricky to try to catch somebody out by yourself. As we get to see this Satchel Charge set up, bop into the air, in flies the Yasuo over the last breath. The cinematic is beautiful as well. And I mean, sure, you get the Pop Blossom off, but it just delays the inevitable, and on to the grubs they go. Looks like it is going to be a little bit of a setup right here for Thunder Talk around this Drake as well. If they can pick themselves up this second Drake, Infernal as well, a great individual soul to be able to grab for yourselves. And we are at least happy to have seen a Kha'Zix pick up a kill, and that is now going to be that Youmuu's completed. So that is a good spot for Xiaohao to be in, but yeah, we're going to need to see more from this Kha'Zix to really justify the pick.
And there goes feats of strength for Thunder Talk. That will guarantee it. The Dragon will grab them their third epic monster slain.
And they'll just grab the tower, because why not? You know,
why not?
Make sure
they
you
get all three. Satchel Charge, I mean, there needs to be a study done for what happens to Thunder Talk when they lose game ones, because this isn't.
I want to see them win a game one and then see if it goes horribly wrong from then on out.
What if they just show up for game one and simmer down? I don't know, but Thunder Talk fans, all they care about is what is on the line here by this point. The nearly perfect early game for a comp that's designed to be powerful in the opposite. And like we've mentioned so many times, if Thunder Talk win this game, they will be 2-0 in Group C with a 6-1 scoreline, holding the tiebreakers over both LNG and EDG. But EDG are trying to make a stop to a 1xn. Well-timed flash gets them out of the Pop Blossom. We talked about how the Ziggs is just so hard to lock down, and you got to see it finally on the Rift.
Really great reaction times right there out of 1xn to get the Satchel Charge down.
It can be flash, Wow.
Yeah, it was just timing on the satchel charge, and that engage happened in the blink of an eye. Pro players' reaction times really is impressive, and 1xN seems to be among the best in that regard. And now, because you've learned all of your engage tools in that attempted play, you see the push forwards right here onto the tower, and you are just going to lose it potentially.
Whoa!
Ooh.
Flying in is Angel. Thought he had just enough damage,
TP.
but 1xN limps away. ZZ teleporting on the backside with the Dominus pop. They're going to have to leave Hoya for Doom.
Yeah.
So Thunder Talk pushed their limits a little bit too much there, trying to play for the mid one turret.
Oh, but he gets the ward, so it's worth, right? It's worth.
Silent players are agreeing with you right now.
Every little helps, right? Yeah, it is a nice response right there out of EDG. They recognized that Thunder Talk had stepped up a little bit too far. I thought 1xN was just about going to be able to get the satchel charge down to take down that turret. Then they could have potentially flipped the switch and gone for that play. But it was the teleport in from ZDZ. Yeah, you now lose it. A little bit late. After you've unfortunately had to sacrifice your top laner. But still, Hoya's not going to be too mad about that one. And that's even more gold being funneled into the back pocket of 1xN. Main carry right here for this comp. Him setup really have been impressive, and I just cannot wait to see what this matchup will look like, win or lose for Thunder Talk today versus BLG. If they lose today, hey, it's even more exciting around that matchup versus BLG, because winning that one would then take them out of this group and on to the next round.
Potentially, if they were able to make that upset with the first place spot, which would be pretty powerful.
Crazy.
But still, this game, a win, virtually locks them. I think mathematically wouldn't totally lock them, but would give them the resume.
It would be a wild set of games for that not to happen. Oh,
1xN
just
looking to
instant.
get picked
He's
off,
instant.
but once again he uses the satchel charge to set up. Oh, strangle or the snare comes across from Wink to at least get the trade, but it's once again Setab getting set up by his 80 carry counterpart. Dredgelight gonna land, is gonna lock down the LeBlanc. Do
Just
they
a
have
kill.
the CC? Knockups, kills, and Hoya gets his revenge onto Angel. And there's no way for EDG to contest this Rift Herald now. Thunder Talk are just too damn good in these last couple of games.
1xN does lose his life, but again, the reaction times to be able to get that satchel down nearly survives. It takes the Nico jumping in with the Blooming Burst to be able to actually pick up that kill, and that's a very tenuous kill at that. Oh boy, this one once again feeling like Thunder Talk are just in control. We're going to see the top lane tier 1 tower fall as well, and the gold gap up by about 3,000 gold at the moment. It's not the biggest lead we've seen at this point in the game. Still, let's see the reaction time, right? He sees him, he places that satchel as he's being jumped.
So impressive.
And then it takes Wick just about being able to snipe over the wall to get that kill. And then this, locking down a LeBlanc is so very tricky. Doesn't matter the feather.
Still.
Oh, he's standing there watching. And then I love, again, this is something we've been complimenting Thunder Talk on throughout this entire series. When somebody makes a pick, they are go. Everybody responds. Everybody is more than willing to go leaping in and do what they have to pick up as many kills as possible.
Oh, they're going for
Speaking
Wink again.
of,
Fate's call, but Assume got held up by Hoya, the Inferno Bomb. Not enough for now to knock down Wink, but will assure Thunder Talk soul point at relatively 19 minutes if they want it. Doesn't look like they're content with the Dragon just yet. They want to go for that mid-tier too.
They're doing it again. They're waiting to put their opponents in situations where they can contest because they want you to contest them on these drakes. Usually you want the uncontested, not now. This is an interesting engage right here out of EDG.
Xiaohao, I mean, he just doesn't find a way in. They're trying to buy time for Angel on this flank. 1xN should fall. He's more than low enough, but Angel can't find a way in. And there's the last breath once more off the satchel charge from 1xN. Gets CDZ vanquished, and now they can grab themselves a very early soul point on the Cloud Drake.
It's so juicy when you don't go get the Drake initially when it would be free, and your opponents know you haven't reset. And they know that you've got some low health bars from the previous team fight, and they can teleport in, and they can flank on you. That's such an enticing fight for EDG, and they try so hard to get on top of 1xN, but once again, Satchel Charge just buys him more than enough space, and ZDZ just isn't able to really follow up, not in the same way that we saw on that Cassante in Game 1. Angel, the second that he jumps in, gets hit with that depth charge, and at that point, you don't have any more follow-up. The only people who can really jump in are the LeBlanc and the Renekton, and they've both been rebuffed at the very beginning of that fight. Then you can turn around and pick yourself up that Drake. Like I said, soul point now for Thunder Talk. They are in firm control of this game. Almost 20 minutes though. Atakan's gonna be on the Rift any second now. Obviously going to be Voracious and not Ruinous, and so once
we were close,
again,
though. This is only 9 kills. Not enough for good old Ruinous.
Nope. Nope. I mean, it really is the solo queue versus competitive buff, right? Those are just different things that different people play. Potentially going to be, moved around to change the lines of these that are drawn in the sand. For the minute, though, a push through onto the mid lane, establishing control here, establishing control in the top lane. There it goes.
Get it? There we go. Mid tier 2 down. Wink is disguised as Kalista W to get the Pop Blossom. That's a new one I haven't seen.
It works!
Then gets eviscerated by Xiao Hao. Beichuan goes into the stasis as Hoya and Feather on the front side. Satab is here, but is he too late to this fight here? Doesn't get enough damage down. Does get the last breath, but it's on to ZDZ. Beichuan goes down. EDG have a life. It's an ace in the most climactic moment.
That's exactly what they needed, especially with Atakan now spawned. They can go pick themselves up this buff. No longer are they going to be getting jumped by a Thunder Talk that don't fear death. And what a fight that was. What did we say? What did we say? Wink on this Nico needed to find the Pop Blossom of Dreams, was disguised as a minion, got into the backline, and splits the front line away from the backline long enough that we get to see this Xiao Hao pickup of the Kha'Zix pay itself back off. You get the kill onto 1xN and then clean house. What a gorgeous, gorgeous fight.
It wasn't a minion. This is the new tech. It was Kalista W.
Yo. That's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, just saw something small and thought it was a minion. They know that this is what's happening, but you can flash in, and that is both of the front line, the Scion and the Nautilus, split completely away from the backline that they are wanting to be protecting. And the rest of the team fight just works out so well for them. The second that you don't have this Ziggs dealing damage, it's almost impossible to win these fights. The Ziggs is critical to the success of this Thunder Talk composition.
We just saw in the picture-in-picture, Beichuan had to use Tyre Zyra kit just to make sure Xiao Hao didn't execute him with that isolated damage.
Yeah.
Doesn't break open the game a ton for EDG, but allows them to stall here with that revive buff.
Brings it closer. The gold is now closer, the revive buff is big. This is now 2 items completed on your Kalista. She's now at peak levels of dealing damage for a Kalista. Same thing with those 2 items completed onto Xiao Hao. So if you're going to find a way to win this game as EDG, it is now or never. The later into this game we get, the tankier the Scion is, the tankier the Nautilus is, things are going to get trickier and trickier. Don't have anything really to be fighting around in these lanes beyond the waves and the towers. Isn't going to stop these teams from posturing up against each other and seeing if potentially they can find somebody stepping just a little bit out of line.
Curious how much longer Voracious Atakan is set to last on these champions. It looks like another basically 45 seconds. You can see the agency that EDG play with on that buff. They're diving between turrets to make sure 1xN doesn't get a chance to even interact. Good pick found once more. How much can EDG get off the back of it?
Like they're going to be able to go and pick themselves up a top lane tier 2 as well, and this is a very risky situation. Hoya is obviously very tanky, but still face checking into the darkness right now. There they go!
There's another clutch Wink Pop Blossom. Down goes Beichuan, and next should be Hoya. And keep in mind, all these trade kills, they're not kills, they're just fake revives. Xiao Hao's going to sacrifice himself using that ult just like Thunder Talk did a game ago.
Exactly, this is the EDG, again, that we've been looking for. We got to see them in Game 1. Apparently, they pop back up for us in Game number 4. And that was a really nice set of plays right there. I mean, Hoya stepping up into the darkness wasn't necessarily... Oh, what a catch.
It's the satchel charge again onto Assume this time. You thought it was going to be the Nautilus setups, maybe the Zyra knockups, Scion knockups. Nah. Welcome to Satchel Last Breath combos from Thunder Talk.
Yeah, that's the knockup that people think of when they think of Yasuo combos, right? And this could be a walk down. Wink now potentially caught out of position, trying to buy time for Xiao Hao to be able to pick up this Drake.
He gets CC locked and punched in the mouth by Hoya's Scion. The Drake is being taken in the background, but I don't think Xiaohao can run it down in time. No. Xiaohao just leashed Cloud Soul to Thunder Talk.
And this is the issue that EDG have been running into. There are good parts to this composition, to these players. They're incredibly talented, but the way that they make their decisions around team fights is just not it. Not compared to what the other teams around the LPL are doing at the moment. And that fight, after you've just won in such a strong way, and you step up just in all of the wrong spots, you fight one by one, Lemmings off a cliff in that situation, and then leash the Drake over to your opponents. It feels bad, it looks bad. We'll have a look at this one again. This is what kicks it off.
Again.
This is gorgeous. I mean, I want to keep watching these for as long as they keep happening because it's just so nice between setup.
Get both summoners out of Assume as well.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe felt like he was doomed there nonetheless, but the desperation to just survive comes across. So Assume on that Kalista, low range, needs space. Now a lot easier to cut down with that same combo that's on a much fresher cooldown than Barrier and Flash allow.
Absolutely. Now, with the Baron spawned, you can see both of these teams sending quite a lot of members to at least establish that initial bit of vision control. We've seen just how much EDG struggle to make teamfights work when they don't have the initial control over the pit. When they are walking in later on, even when it looks like they've got a good pincer and a flank around their opponents, it just goes wrong for them again and again. Love to see them get a little bit more vision down. Right now, there's still a ton of vision around this objective right here for Thunder Talk. Some of it pretty deep as well. Potential flank ward to be teleported upon. Setup has the teleport available, and Hoya's will be up in just a little bit as well.
The real battle before the true fights, the vision wars. Right now, Xiaohao trying to index his lethality early game, mid-game small balling items into a pick, but Setab is word to the wiser. Knows that virtually none of EDG are showing on the map right now except Assume and ZDZ, so doesn't want to push his luck. Not playing into the picks that EDG so desperately need to make this game work.
No, instead it feels like, although they lost a couple of little fights and skirmishes, Thunder Talk are still in a good position in this game. They're up by 1,000 gold. You know, the sort of composition that doesn't mind going down a little bit early on. Once again, they're going to step up, begin to take as much space as they want to. You really highlighted it. It's trying to walk into this composition with the amount of damage that can be put down in choke points between a Zyra and a Ziggs. Not something you overall want to be doing, but it doesn't look like either of these teams are comfortable to try to just pull the trigger. And I think that's fair enough. They take it relatively fast to Thunder Talk, so do EDG, but not fast enough right now to want to just sneak it away. And I don't know if Thunder Talk are feeling as confident as usual in just forcing their opponents to walk into them and allowing a team fight to happen whenever.
Just got to be wary of that Pop Blossom and flank angles. Xiaohao does have that spell shield to brunt an initial dredge line, but you could see the difference 30 seconds of Vision Wars make. We had pink wards up past the Baron pit for EDG. They had a ward on the enemy red buff. Now, this entire river completely dark.
Yeah, they are walking into an incredibly scary situation, and this is the joys of the Zyra. You can start it up relatively easily. EDG, though, they are going to contest.
1xN here, teleports in for both top laners. This could be the split decided for EDG. If Thunder Talk have anything to say about it, CDZ flies in, Pop Blossom to 4! 1xN is down! How much more can EDG get on the backside? Beijuan's gonna flash himself out. Feather and Setab kite back safely. Hoya in the middle of everybody. The last breath onto 3 from Setab in the background. He has Assume in his sights, and Setab does it again! Pop Blossom be damned! EDG be damned! Thunder Talk team fight their way to a win once more!
And this is what we wanted from this game. The Pop Blossoms are huge. They managed to land onto so many members, does Wink. But in the backline, it doesn't matter. Sure, you lose 1xN, but Setab, this is his game. And what a performance it is, managing to land that last breath onto so many people. And they stop the Baron at least. Nobody gets the Baron. We get to do this fight all again.
Thought they had more kills than they actually allotted with those combos. Only pick off ZDZ and
I mean, people were blinking. The health pulse was so low.
But now they get to teleport in. 1xN, Beijuan, the plants, Setab's damage. They're just going to rush this thing down. Angel can't TP in. ZDZ can't TP in. There's nobody here but Xiaohao to watch as the Baron crumbles. It has to be a hero steal. That's the only option, but Xiaohao's not even going to get a look at this Baron. Purple banner on to 5 for Thunder Talk.
I am worried, Slayer. I'm worried that this was the best team fight that EDG were going to get. Because this Pop Blossom out of Wink is disgusting. That's the Pop Blossom of dreams. But the follow-up isn't there. Xiaohao's nowhere nearby at the point at which the Pop Blossom happens, not trying to get into the backline to deal damage to anybody. Setup specifically could potentially have been assassinated by having your Kha'Zix nearby, but this is the way the EDG team fights go. When they choose to go for engages, it goes wrong so often because not the whole team is on the same page. And if that was the best possible team fight angle that EDG were going to find for themselves, and the outcome was that they lost almost all of their kills and a Baron, yeah, this game might be a little bit over.
They're really selling this mid lane to try and cover for the Elder spawning soon here. We're getting such an early Elder because all 4 opening Drakes went over to Thunder Talk, but they don't relent. They push all the way down mid. They get the inhibitor down, and Feather's hunting for Angels. Use that depth charge time and time again to pick off this LeBlanc. And the Inferno Bomb, one more auto will get it. Feather sets him up, and Saintab and 1xN knock him down. It's been the tried and true recipe this entire series for Thunder Talk. And now they're looking for the killing blow. Hoya spots out Assume way too far up. Both engaged champions are flying in. How many hops he got, Assume? Because you're gonna drop. Second kill through, and Nexus turrets are exposed. Thunder Talk are going for the killing blow.
They've got a Ziggs. They can go for this. The Baron empowered minions pour in. They've only got the mid wave to work with, though. Xiaohao's trying to go for a flank.
ZDZ goes in with the dominance there, goes down the Stranglethorns, he gets knocked up once more, Pop Blossom through for Wink, but there's not enough damage in the chamber. They're all out of gas. EDG fall, ace to Thunder Talk. They talk the talk in the Demacia Cup, but they rest themselves into the playoffs with a lightning bolt of destiny. Thunder Talk 2-0 Group C. We'll see you in playoffs.
Oh, what a victory. That is 3-1 is the comfort zone right here for Thunder Talk.